Welcome parents, carers and students. My name is James Barringer, Deputy Head Teacher, and I work closely with Marion Carter, the Progress Manager for Year 7, to oversee the provision and support offered to our Year 7 students. Normally, I would be talking to you in the school hall, but unfortunately, coronavirus has rendered that impossible. The key purpose of this presentation is to describe some of our systems and approaches, as well as to identify our important communication channels. We intend to go beyond the information that we offered you in the Year 6 information evening in advance of your children joining, to provide a little more detail on how the school works. Communication between teachers, parents and students needs to be at the heart of everything we do so that we can build effective relationships that will serve your children's education for the next 5 years. Consequently, in the next few minutes, I intend to discuss 3 main questions. Firstly, what are the vehicles we use to communicate with you? Secondly, how should you communicate with us? And finally, what do we communicate with you? I'll begin with the vehicles that we use to communicate with you. These are the school's website, something that I will refer to at greater length later, the school's newsletter that comes out at the end of each school week, parent mail, which is normally used to share letters as well as to arrange parents' evenings, emails, which are used to communicate to both parents and students. The latter, of course, might become really important should students be required by the government to work at home this year. Show My Homework, which is used to inform both students and their parents of the homework tasks that are regularly set in class. Individual phone calls, which is commonly a vehicle used by teachers to communicate with the parents of a child that they teach. And finally, we communicate through parental visits. This might be through parents' evenings, for example, the one that's going to take place just after the half-term holiday, through triannual SEN review meetings for students who are on the SEND register, or through bespoke parental meetings, for example, those arranged where there are concerns over a student's attendance. For communication to work effectively, it's also important that you know how to communicate with us. It is often easiest to do so by email. The email addresses for tutors and all school leaders can be found on our school website. If you cannot find the email address of a teacher, please email the appropriate subject leader and they will ensure that the message will get passed on. We aim to respond to all emails within 2 working days of receiving them. I'll show you where to find these on the website later on. Alternatively, you could telephone the school. Either call reception and ask to be put through to the relevant member of staff, or, if you know that person's extension, call them directly. Please be aware though that most of the staff spend most of their time in direct contact with students, so are rarely able to receive phone calls. However, if you leave a message, they will pick this up. Sometimes it's necessary to meet face-to-face with a member of staff, but please be aware that this can only be done with a prior arranged appointment. Please do not visit the school with an expectation to meet with a teacher without an appointment arranged, as we'll not be able to facilitate this meeting. This brings us on to the third part of this presentation, what we communicate with you. To structure this section, I'll take you through a demonstration of sections of our website. On the Home tab, you can see the very latest news, as well as Matt Hunter's welcome message. In the section on school information, beyond the statutory sections such as information for Ofsted, there are many items. You can browse various pieces of whole school information, such as our improvement priorities, a range of school policies. For example, our feedback policy and our homework policy might be of particular interest to parents of students who have just joined the school, and the future school term dates, which can be very useful for planning holidays. There is a useful section on school attendance, which includes guidance documents for parents. We're currently in exceptional times where coronavirus is leading to increased levels of student absence, but we must never lose sight of the fact that regular absence has a massive negative impact on that student's likely outcomes. Whenever a child can come to school, they should do so. There is also a section on the school's ethos and values that is worthy of further exploration. On these pages, and through the links to the teaching statement, the learning statement and the curricular statement, the school sets out its vision to deliver excellence for all of its students. The next tab on the website takes you to our subject pages. For each of our subjects, you're able to read the department's vision of what they teach, how they teach it, and why they teach it that way. You can also see the course maps for each year group. Whilst they're still being updated for 2021, given some of the necessary changes resulting from coronavirus, the course maps themselves are extremely useful for parents and students alike. They might be used so that our Year 7 students know what topics and concepts will be coming up later in the course. Equally, they can be a really good way to continuously revise the new knowledge they are gaining. By looking back to topics they've already studied, students can evaluate what knowledge they've retained and, where necessary, choose to revisit it to improve their retention. When we arrive at the Year 7 exam window, which will take place between the 4th and 14th of May 2021, this can be a very useful and productive process. However, to support your children further in the build-up to these exams, we will provide them with guidance on the format to these exams, as well as advice on what and how they should revise. This will all be given in the weeks that build up to the exams themselves. In the next tab, Student Information, there is much more information that is useful to both students and parents. The first section looks at assessment and feedback. We believe that our assessment systems should inform students of what they're doing well and the areas in which they need to improve. We also believe that our assessment systems should be based on success criteria so that students understand the judgments that are being made about their work. Finally, we believe the criteria should relate specifically to the work students have been completing in school, so they really understand what it's actually telling them. Consequently, we've created assessment and feedback sheets which contain ladders that describe the standard of a student's work, relating specifically to the things they've been studying in that subject. Sometimes these A&F sheets relate to a single task or test. Other times they might relate to a whole term's work. The sheets will often be used formatively with students in class so they know what success looks like and what they are aiming to produce. By clicking on some of the links to the assessment and feedback sheets on this page, you'll be able to explore the things that students will be assessed on. As parents, you can see the outcomes of these A&F assessments in several ways. One way would be to talk to your child or to look in their exercise books. The sheets are often stuck into them. You will also be emailed a report, like the one on the screen, at several points across the year, so that you can see the progress being made. The boxes here will be populated with a number from 1 to 5, with 1 relating to the highest standard at the top of the ladder. The first of these reports will be emailed home to you next week, although it won't have any assessment and feedback data on it. Instead, it will report on students' attitude to learning, the next section of the website. Attitude to learning involves clearly set out criteria that are used to assess how well students are working both in and beyond lessons. You can see the ATL staff criteria by clicking here on the website. Your child's teachers will judge each student's attitude to learning on 4 occasions across the year. The first of these will be reported to you next week. We would expect that all students should be at least meeting the 2 criteria, which describes a hard-working student who actively gets involved in lessons and takes responsibility for their learning. However, we would encourage all students to consider the 1 criteria and reflect on any changes that they need to make to demonstrate these. Beyond lessons, this might mean exploring issues and concepts further than any homework requires, as well as constantly revising their knowledge. Any student that is judged lower than a 2 for attitude to learning should look closely at the criteria and, again, reflect on the changes that are needed. Their teachers will be working with them to achieve this. In the reports that Year 7 students receive next week, they will only be given attitude to learning in lesson scores. Later this year, however, beyond lesson scores will be given in English, science, maths, history, geography and modern languages. This leads me to talk to you about homework in Year 7. You'll see in this section of the website that Year 7 are given their own homework timetable. This tells you the day that homework should normally be set for each subject. Students are normally given anything from a couple of days to a week to complete this work, with each piece expected to take between 30 and 45 minutes. Homework is set through the Show My Homework software. Both students and their parents should have access to this. Homework can either be seen using the homework list or as a calendar. It's also through Show My Homework, the Show My Homework app, or online on the web page that students can see the kudos rewards that they have been given by teachers. This can be seen by students and parents by clicking on the Behaviour tab or that section of the app. This is one of several ways that we try to reward our students. Rewards can range from verbal praise in lessons, emails or phone calls home, the opportunity to exchange kudos points for goodies in our swap shop, kudos badges, more formal letters home from me which recognise excellent attitude to learning, as well as potentially receiving an award in our annual awards evenings, or perhaps even a letter from the head teacher. We try to use such rewards to help motivate students, although we think it is really important to recognise that real motivation comes from within. Students should work hard for themselves so that they can learn and improve, and because working hard and being successful brings its own positive feelings of reward. In this section of the website you can also find the information about our extracurricular clubs. Along with school trips, coronavirus has had a big impact here and has currently put limitations on the number of clubs that we can offer. However, there is still a range of options both at lunchtime and after school, and we would encourage anyone who can to get involved, to try new things and to use it as an opportunity to meet new people. In the student information section, you can also find out about our careers education, subject focus days, where Year 7 students will spend the whole day investigating an issue or concept in greater depth in maths, English or science, and many other parts of the school such as IT services. By clicking on the IT services page, you can discover how RM Unify can be used to access schoolwork at home and, for example, how our students can download Office 2016 onto other devices for free. In the News and Events section of the website you can access the school newsletters as well as any other letters that have been sent to parents, whereas in the Contact Us section, which I referred to earlier on in the presentation, you can find all of the email addresses that I have already spoken about. Finally, we've added a COVID-19 section where you can read about the school's approach to managing coronavirus and read the procedures to follow if you think your child is becoming symptomatic. Please be aware that this section of the website, along with many others, requires updates on a regular basis. We will try to let you know when we make changes to it. Across the year we'll plan to drip feed more information to you, for example through the weekly newsletter or through individual parent mails. This might be, for example, information on how to support your children's learning in maths with online tools, or how Accelerated Reader could support your children's reading. We'll also be able to answer any of your questions, for example at the Tutor Catch-up meetings on the 3rd of November, or at the Year 7 Subject Parents Evening that will take place on Thursday the 25th of March. However, as I stated at the start, communication back to us can come in other forms, so whilst I hope you found this presentation informative, should you have any questions, please do contact the appropriate member of staff and we'll get back to you as quickly as we can. Thank you very much for listening and watching. We really look forward to working with you all over the next 5 years.